All right. Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. I'm very, very excited today. I'm talking to Kelly Shaefer of Atheist. Awesome to chat with you, my friend.
Yeah, great to be here, my friend. You know, after everything we've been through in the last year and a half, it's nice to talk about metal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, I definitely want to talk about Atheist and you know, a lot of other things. But I think first off, I think the big thing is what you've got going on right now with Till the Dirt. And I'd love to chat about that. I mean, the new band, new music.
I'm super excited about it. I'm more than happy to talk about it. Yeah, it's my I don't know, man. It's just my favorite thing, you know, that I've ever done. And you know, and I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a lot of really great music. But there's something, I don't know, kind of a lightning in a bottle about this record and the way it came together sort of supernaturally and organically and without any pretense. And that's kind of the best, it's sometimes the best way to create art when it's not thought about or preconceived. It just combusts, you know what I mean? And it was just great to be in this era of technology to be able to capture it while it was locked down during COVID. You know, I set up my laptop with a way to record the demos. And then I wrote like 20 songs in 3 months for this. So it was a really prolific period, and it was just, man, just effortless and fun and brutal and vicious. Well, what'd you think? I sent you a couple, yeah.
Yeah, you sent me, I think, 4 tracks, and it is killer. And like you said, I mean, I think it's groundbreaking. It's something new and interesting, and I mean, the music is really tight.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you've definitely still got your pipes. I mean,
not bad for an old man.
Yeah, it's pretty killer. It's really good.
Thanks,
stuff.
man. Yeah, and I was once I got into, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 songs into it, I started reaching out to friends. You know, I sent it off to like Gene Hoglan, and I sent it to Scott Burns, and Scott Burns sort of, initially we had reconnected, we hadn't talked in like 25 years, and you know, he went off and started writing software, and you know, was sort of out of the business for 2.5 decades. And so upon us sort of, you know, reconnecting and talking, you know, I said, "Oh man, I have some new music I would love for you to hear." And he was like, "Oh man," you know, he was kind of bummed out because he was like, you know, he went on to tell me that the last thing he wanted to do after reconnecting with me was to tell me that my new band sucked. So, you know what I mean? And he was like, you know, he's like, there's so many bands that are just still doing the same thing, and you know, and it's like, we, you know, obviously we have a long history of you know, friendship, him and all the bands from Tampa, and you know, so it's hard for him to you know, he's brutally honest, and sometimes people don't want to hear that. So anyway, long story short, he was blown away by the demos, and one thing led to another, and he ended up co-producing this whole album, and it's the first thing he's been a part of, and yeah, since the early 90s.
Wow.
So that was really exciting, and that kind of fueled my fire a lot, and I started writing even more, and working with him on the arrangements and the songs. He played a larger role in actually producing as opposed to engineering.
Okay.
Because there's a large learning curve between technology of 1991 and today, you know what I mean? And he's just, you know, he hasn't been doing that. So we worked with you know, we had a mix engineer, Ryan Vincent, from Apollo Audio out in Missouri, and so he ended up mixing the record, but me and Scott worked on, you know, all the song arrangements and all the stuff, so it was kind of fun. And for him it was cool because he didn't have to labor over all the mixing and the, you know, the recording of the tracks and all that, you know, and he could really just come in and lend his ear, which is still sharp as ever, you know, in terms of for a guy that doesn't play music, he has an incredible sense of the way things should sound and the way songs should be sort of put together. So that was fucking amazing, man, just to you know, to have him involved in this. And then we pulled in Steve DiGiorgio to do a guest track. He played bass on the title track, and my friend Jeff Loomis did a solo, and then John Longstreth from Origin did a song called Insist and Demand. It's just sick as hell. So that, and then I got the you know, the guys that are currently in Atheist with me. They helped me as well, and sort of formed the band with me after, you know, once we started getting the songs together. And so that's Chris Martin, Daniel Martinez, Yoav, on bass, and then Anthony Medaglia on drums. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun and it's just coming together really naturally.
Nice. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. It feels, the tracks I heard, I mean, one, it's kick-ass, in your face,
Thank you.
metal, but it feels very organic. It doesn't feel forced. It feels,
Thank you.
yeah, like it feels, it's art. It feels very,
it's not clean. It's not clean either. Thank you, by the way. But it's full of flaws, which I love. In this day and age, everybody records everything to be so fucking perfect, and this isn't. This is I did a lot of my vocals at 2 a.m. after about 5 Jaeger bombs, and so it created this anger and this vitriol in my voice, that I never heard before, because I typically write music while I smoke pot. Okay. And so that's a different head altogether, and that's been that way for 30 plus years. So because of COVID, I was sort of stuck at home and I couldn't go out and have drinks or anything. And that's typically, I was just a social drinker. I've never in my life, drank alcohol at home. I just never did. And so I had all this time on my hands, and so I would start this. My wife is a bartender, and she works at night. And so I have a 4-year-old son, and he was sitting beside me for the whole record. He must have thought I was out of my fucking mind, because I have headphones on. I'm screaming my face off in her house. And he must have been just like, well, at first he really thought I was angry, right? And I had to explain to him that I'm just making music, buddy. But he's 4, I mean, he don't know what the hell's going on. And if you listen to the vocals on this record, I'm literally doing I'm doing the vocals in my living room, and he's 10 feet away watching Paw Patrol. So it was a huge contrast. And then they combined that with 4 or 5 shots of Jaeger, and it made for an interesting headspace to 2 vocals.
I love that. I love that image, that juxtaposition that you just described of you in the living room screaming while your son's watching Paw Patrol. That's pretty
real too,
funny.
Man. And in fact, if you isolate the vocal tracks, because I did them also. When I'm talking about the way people do vocals, and you go in the studio and you got the the pantyhose in front of the microphone and the whole night. I did all these vocals with a handheld 58, and just very raw, very old school, which I think is kind of missing from today's recordings. It's just everything sounds like video game music. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of stuff is, just so fast and so crazy, and there's just no soul. I sound like an old guy here. I'm like, there's no soul in it, but that's just how I feel. I just think that today's recordings are just a little too polished, and people need to just pull it back, because when you play live, no one ever plays perfect. You never, ever, ever, ever. No one plays a perfect show, and and people love live music, more than they love studio albums.
Yeah.
And so there must be a reason for that. I think your brain sort of wants to hear the flaws. You want to see the human quality of a band, and that's what I think we captured on this record. Is it's just nasty and raw and just spitting venom. So I'm psyched. I can't wait for people to hear it.
I love it. I agree. I definitely agree. I think there's as an audience member, as a fan, I think there's this, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's almost like there's you obviously don't want your favorite band to fail or anything, but there's kind of that, watching a guy like, is he going to be able to pull off this solo? Because it's really tricky, and he's live, and he's struggling a little bit. Like, is it going to work? I mean, you're rooting for him, but there's kind of this, it's kind of that suspense,
Yeah, for the same reason that people watch people walk on a tightrope. They're not watching him walk the tightrope to watch him sort of dance like Fred Astaire. They want to see him almost fall, or maybe even fall. And so maybe there's a little bit of that element in why people enjoy live music so much. Just and it really brings it into a human element, as opposed to a clinical sort of studio atmosphere. But so I left a lot of mistakes on these things. If a guitar was slightly out of tune, fuck it. That's the way it would be on stage. You know what I mean? As long as it wasn't atrocious, But a lot of the vocals were done in 1 and 2 takes, because I've always felt like going in to do vocals in the studio, you overthink it. you listen to, there's always a bunch of people in the studio and everybody's got an opinion, and you start second guessing yourself. And usually the first one or two takes you do vocally are usually the best, but an engineer or a producer or even your band members will be like, just, give me like 4 or 5 more.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get like 7, 8, 9 takes in, and it starts to get diluted. And so based on that philosophy, I wanted to really capture the spontaneous combustion of it all. And so I kind of mumbled out my lyrics. I would do one track where I was just mumbling, like, just to get my my placement of where I wanted vocals. And then I would make myself a drink and go sit outside and smoke a cigarette and write the lyrics literally in 20 minutes and come back in and fucking bang it out. And I'd say 90% of the record was done like that, where I didn't go back and change anything. And I like it like that.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that raw, like as you said, that it's really raw. I think that's a cool idea. And as you said, I think, yeah, that's missing in a lot of music today. There's a lot of overproduction, I think, and especially in metal.
Oh my God, yeah. And what you're hearing a lot of times is not what's really being played. Like if you go see modern bands and you sit behind the drummer, when you sit behind the the triggers, you hear different sounds from the drummer, because out front you're hearing perfect kick drums. You're hearing it's like this. There's no inconsistency. And when you listen to Rain and Blood from Slayer, you can hear the difference in the 2 kick drums. When Dave Lombardo is playing double bass, he's playing real double bass. So, it's not triggered. It's so you can hear, and even Fight Fire with Fire from Metallica, you listen to old school double bass, and it's, one bass drum sounds a little different than the other one, and one foot hits a little harder than the other one. That's just natural. That's the way it's supposed to be. And while we didn't go that organic on this record, drum wise, but Anthony Medaglia did. I wrote all the drums with sort of myself, and then he played them and just did an incredible job. He's so consistent, and there's just so much. While I'm talking shit about modern metal bands, let me go on to say that these kids are fucking ridiculously talented. Like today's crop of musicians, I salute you kids. I'm not taking anything from you, man. I mean, you guys are really incredible, but I just think you lean on the studio a little too much. You should lean on your natural abilities a little bit more and let yourself make mistakes. It's human, so but yeah, there's some incredible talent, just especially guitar players these days. Wow.
Yeah.
Just sick fuckers, man. So am I allowed to cuss on your show?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cool. Cheers, man.
So with the Till the Dirt, do you have a target date for a release at this point? Or are you still kind of?
Well, I sent it to you just and I haven't we haven't sent it to anybody except industry people. It's right now it's on the desks of a couple of labels, and so hoping to have it signed, sealed, and delivered here in the next couple of weeks. And I just think it'd be foolish for a label not to take this record. It's
I think so too. I think if you see the name Kelly Shaefer and you see the name Scott Burns, it's like, sign me up right now. What is it? Are they, if he's playing kazoo, sign me up. I'll buy the record.
Well, thanks, man. But I think that some people may look at that marquee and be like, I don't know, a couple old guys, but this record does not sound like any old guys at all. And, the guys playing on the record are all 23, 24 years old, y'all youngs, but, the music was written by an old guy. So fuck you, but I dare you to listen to it and tell me that it sounds dated. That's one of the things that sort of was exciting about it, is it's really hard to break away. When you have a band for 30 years and you play a particular kind of music, people want to keep you in that box. They want, Atheist has got a lot of really loyal fans, and they don't like it when they weren't fans when I dipped out and did Neurotica. Atheist fans hated Neurotica, and Neurotica fans hated Atheist. And so I've always got this contrasting fan base. And so anytime I try to do something new, it's really hard. I didn't try to do anything new this time, and that's what's kind of the beauty of it. It's just it's a it's a gathering of all of my of everything, 100% me and all my influences after 30 years in the business. And so I never had there's blast beats all over this record. Anybody that knows my music knows that I never used blast beats in any of my music at all, and nothing with Atheist. I think there might be one 5-second blast on Jupiter, but that's not like your typical blasting. So there's a lot of blast beats and a lot of really interesting modern vibes that just came out naturally. And because I've always kept my ear to the street and always listening to new music all the time, so I'm not riding around with my old school sort of mentality, where there's a lot of my contemporaries that beyond 1995 they won't listen to anything new. So they really know there's and I listen to a lot of new things. Not a lot of one of my favorite new bands, really, and there's only a small handful of them, is Gojira, I think, and they're not even really new anymore.
Yeah.
I just think there's very few bands that have done what they've done in the last 10 years. Just really incredible band. And so there's still a lot of things to be explored in metal, and I think that we touched on a lot of it on this record. It's when you say groundbreaking, that makes me smile, because it really is different. And there really, and every musician likes to say that, oh, there's nothing like this, but there really is no record like this Till the Dirt record. It's for better or for worse. It's fucking unique, and there's things happening over blast beats that have never happened before, and there's melody in an extremity that I haven't heard really that much ever before. So you know what? So I hope that people will at least appreciate it for that. It's moving the needle a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's very timely, and
Thank you.
With kind of the intensity of it and the rawness of it, I think it's what we need right now. I think it's in the metal world, it's pretty cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the rest of the album. I can't wait for it to come out.
Me too.
We'll hopefully.
Another cool thing about this is I've never played these songs live. I've never been a part of a record that I made where I never performed them. Typically you write songs, you rehearse them, then you go and record them, after they've sort of had a chance to live for a while. But I've never been afraid of that on that spontaneity, because on Elements with Atheist, there was a song called Mineral that we wrote literally 20 hours before we recorded it.
Oh, wow.
And that song is still alive in our set today, 29 years later. And it, the recording that you hear of Mineral on that album is less than 24 hours old. And so we didn't have any time to scrutinize it or think about it or worry about it, or maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's not this, maybe it's not that. We just there it was. And it's it held up. So my mentality's always been, it doesn't matter whether something happened quickly. And a lot of people will be like, that was too easy. Maybe we should wait, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. Let's play it some more. Let's change it some more. But again, I go back to that philosophy of, the first thing that you meant, that first explosion is usually 90% of what's best about whatever it is that you're doing, and for me anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, kind of when you, that first riff, when you figure it out, like, oh, this is the song, this is what it's going to sound like, this riff, and it blooms from that. Yeah, I agree. I think that's cool. That's really cool. Let's go back in time and talk about kind of how you got started in music originally. What was the impetus of you becoming a musician?
When I was really into art. So I went to art school and I was drawing and painting, and I thought that would be my my thing. My grandma was an artist and I always admired her. And my sister got a boyfriend named Greg, and he used to sit and play guitar, and I thought, fuck, that's amazing. I want to be able to do that. And then when I was in art school, in high school, it was like a performing arts school, and so I had to audition to get in, but they had a music department, and there was a guy there. His name was Taylor Koch, and I'll never forget it. And he used to sit in the courtyard and play Zeppelin tunes, and all these girls would sit around him, and even the guys would sit around. I was like, fuck, I've never painted anything or drawn anything that made a whole bunch of girls. When you're young, that's what you think about,
Right.
Think about dumb shit like that, So I started playing guitar, and I spent a year literally taking acid and smoking a bunch of pot and staying in my room for an entire year to learn as much as I could. And I surpassed my sister's boyfriend after a year of playing. And then it became really just about the guitar and not about the girls or any of that shit. And along came Metallica, man, you know, and I was a big Maiden fan and Priest and Rush and, you know, Sabbath. I had a pretty healthy diet of high quality music that I was turned on to at a young age. But then, you know, Metallica came along, and it was just the way the guitar sounded so chunky and gallopy, and I was fucking just, and nobody in my town really knew that much about them. There was only a handful of guys. So it was like this secret. I don't know. How old are you?
50.
Okay, so we're in the same game. So you remember how exciting it was?
Yeah, yeah, mind blowing.
Fucking, like, we had the best kept secret. You know, when I would listen to Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath, man, I would just look around at people like, yeah, you're fucking scared, aren't you? You know what I mean? Like, it fucking worries you. And I loved how that music, I would literally take you know, those blasters, those radio blasters from back in the day, and with my cassette tapes, man, and walk down the hallway at school and freak people out. You know what I mean? Like, if you imagine, you know, we know those records so well, Melissa, you know, and Don't Break the Oath and Show No Mercy, you know, playing those records for kids that were into Doc and fucking, you know, and like MTV Rock Cinderella and all that garbage.
Right.
And so I just loved making them cringe. And so that was kind of the funnest part about it in the beginning. And then learning how to play it was so exciting. And I remember being 15, I would just look at my hands like, holy fuck. I can't believe I just played Fight Fire with Fire. Right. I can't believe I just played Trapped Under Ice. Like, oh man. And to me, I just felt like music was my best friend, you know, and was definitely not a popular kid. So I didn't have many best friends, if any. And music has just never lied to me, never let me down. My guitar has never bullshitted me. It always tells me how shitty I am or how great I am, you know, and that's all the friend I needed growing up. And by the time I was 16, you know, I started a band and then hooked up with Steve Flynn, and that's when it really started taking shape, and we started Ravage. And, you know, we started off like playing covers like Old Trouble and Exodus, Piranha, and Seek and Destroy, and Black Magic. And, you know, we played all these weird covers that, you know, we come from a very conservative town, a beach town. And so a lot of the cover bands around here were playing Jimmy Buffett. And if they were playing metal, they were playing Dio and Ozzy and shit like that. And so our covers were very strange, but we didn't have a bass player. And then we played a show one time at a teen club, and Roger Patterson and his twin brother were at that show. And that's when we hooked up with him. And then once we got Roger in the band, things really, really started to take shape pretty quickly, and off we went. Yeah,
he was an incredibly innovative bass player.
Oh man, I can't believe it's been so long. But I, you know, and people say this about, you know, people they've lost, but there's literally not a time I'm on stage where I don't, you know, where I don't think about him during a show. You know, I mean, he's such a part of. I just feel so terrible that he's not here to enjoy all this. You know, I mean, because he was such an authentic metalhead, you know, just a really rootsy, pure, honest metalhead, and you know, no ego, like zero ego, super insecure about his playing, you know, which I think always keeps people sharp. Yeah. You know, when people start getting full of themselves, they start to lose their edge, you know, but he was just monstrous. And you know, and again, people always say that about their friends that have departed, but you know, and you can listen to bass players now that are incredible as well, that, you know, that have surpassed, you know, Roger, but they got 30 years on him. If that kid had stayed alive, I can't imagine how good he would be right now. I mean, he was just growing exponentially, and you know, and his, you know, what his bass lines that he created 30 years ago are still rivaled today. You know, I mean, there's still people that struggle to play it. So he was just unique. Love and miss him.
I mean, I remember, I mean, the first time I heard Piece of Time, okay, the copy right here on vinyl.
Nice.
I mean, in that opening, his bass line, it was like, what the hell is this? Like, because I mean, you know, it's death thrash metal, but there's this progressive jazz element to it too. I mean, like, I don't know if he listened to like Jacko or something, but I mean, there was that element to it. And it's like, whoa, this is incredible. Like I had never heard anything like it. And then, you know, when the guitars come in and your vocals come in and it's this extreme, intense, but yeah, with this very progressive jazz influence, it was mind blowing. I had never
oddly, he liked, you know, obviously loved Rush and Yes, you know, I forget that guy's name, Chris Squire.
Yeah, Chris Squire.
Yeah, Chris Squire, but then he also loved Gene Simmons, who's a shitty bass player, like, just fucking horrible. But I think he kind of liked Gene more for a stage. Like if you look at how Roger, if you look back at old videos and see how Roger stood, he stood a lot like Gene Simmons stood, you know. So I think he got that. But you know, Jocko, you know, right before he died, he, you know, we started really getting into like Spyro Gyra and Mahavishnu Orchestra, and he started, you know, dipping into things that were super progressive, and he had such a natural ability that he was able to play that stuff and pick it up so quickly. And well, you know, I've often said, you know, the difference between sort of Atheist and Cynic, where we were a metal band that sort of dabbled in jazz, and Cynic has always been a jazz band that dabbled in metal. And so that's the difference between our two bands. But we were very good friends, and so, you know, back then it was really, it was like this friendly, you know, friendly sort of spirited competition of, you know, who can blow each other's minds, you know. And I remember Roger going down to Miami and playing with Cynic when we went down, and Tony Troy had just gotten a sound gear, an Ibanez sound gear. And, you know, Roger's bass had this big fat neck on it, and he was able to play all that shit on this massive neck, this BC Rich piece of shit that he had in the early days. And, when he saw Tony Troy with that sound gear, he went and got one, and holy, you know, his hands were just like fucking, you know, it was like half the size of his other neck. So all of a sudden he really just started lighting it up. And, you know, along came, you know, Mother Man and Formative Years, and, you know, An Incarnation's Dream, and all these really, you know, really great bass filled songs. And so, yeah, he was an extraordinary talent.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, he was incredible. And I was curious, you know, I mean, you guys were essentially kids. You were pretty young.
Yeah.
Did you have a sense of kind of how innovative and groundbreaking the music that you were making was, or was it just like you were just doing your thing? I mean,
no. I mean, I think that we knew we were doing something different, but nobody. It was difficult to find anybody that liked it.
Really?
You know, there was, yeah. I mean, it was really hard. I mean, well, I mean, if you were into metal like you are now, back then, you probably remember. I mean, you know, Kerrang wrote, "These guys sound like grown men caught in their own guitar strings, and they're so metal they're up their own ass," and just really kind of, you know,
right,
shit like that. So I mean, it got really frustrating after a while to hear shit like that, and so we decided, well, fuck it, you know, we won't do it. You know, I mean, let's just move on. Steve went to college, and then that's sort of how Elements came about, was just that, you know, Steve was already in college, and I was moving on and putting Neurotica together, and they called and said, "Oh, you're supposed to do another record," and that's why that all came together in 40 days. And but you know, that record still stands today, which, you know, is just an incredible thing, because, you know, we just had zero time to do that. But I'm super proud of the record. I'm not proud of the production, but I'm proud of the record. I wish we had recorded it, you know, in a different studio. But that was in the early days of digital recording. And that machine that we recorded on was Frank Zappa's Sony machine, and we were working with Frank Zappa's engineer. And so we thought, well, you know, we love Zappa, and so this is going to be fucking amazing. And it's not Mark Pinsky's fault. It's just that he didn't know how to record guitars like that, and so they get a little overmodulated at times. And you know, so it's not my favorite production, but it's still a very listenable record. It's just there's all kinds of tasty things happening there, especially the drums and bass on that album are just amazing. And Tony Troy did a great job. And you know, when you think about essentially 2.5 weeks those guys had to put all that together. And then 10 days to record it. It's fucking amazing.
That's,
you know, yeah.
That's really wild. That's crazy. Speaking of Atheist, I think I just saw that there were some tour dates announced, correct?
Yeah.
For this coming year.
Fingers crossed. God damn it. Everybody get your fucking vaccination, would you? You're fucking up everybody's plan with your, you know, it's shocking to me that people are, you know, we would, I saw a thing today of Fauci, and listen, I know there's going to be 1 out of 2 people watching this. They're going to be like, fuck you, liberal. But that's a chance you take these days. But I just think, Fauci was right when he said that we would still have smallpox. We would still have, a lot of these things if not for vaccination. So it's stunning to me that people are just, that we're in this position. And I'm concerned that we're going to fall back into this mess again for another year. And I can't take another year of this shit.
Yeah.
So I hope that everybody goes and gets vaccinated. But yeah, right now, February, it's our first headlining European tour.
Cool.
And really, really excited about that. And so that starts in February in Eastern Europe. And then I'm hoping that we have a US run sometime in the early summer. So maybe we'll be out to see you. And I've never been to Utah.
Yeah,
driven through it, but what city is what city do people come to?
Salt Lake City is where, so I'm about 40 miles north of Salt Lake, but Salt Lake's where you would play. And and there's a thriving metal scene there. There's a thriving underground metal scene too, which is cool. So, and some of it's small clubs, the sad thing, I don't even know. Well, there's a few bars that it definitely, but there's some venues, I don't even know if they still exist, after this last year. I'm hoping they're still around, but I don't know if they still are. But there's definitely some stuff. I know Exhumed is coming in the fall. So so there's some stuff happening. There's some underground cool metal stuff happening.
What's the last show you went to?
Ooh, the very last show I saw was, I think it was Dragon Force and Unleash the Archers, and that was
Metal Mania.
Yeah, when was that? That was March. It was right before everything got shut down, like right then. And then the show I saw before that was, I think that was maybe Incantation with.
We were just out west with Cattle Decapitation.
Oh, cool.
Just before COVID. So in November, December of 2019, we did this amazing run with those guys and Author and Punisher and Primitive Man. And and that was a really fucking fun ass tour, but I don't think we came anywhere near. You didn't hear about that?
No, I don't remember that happening.
Oh, damn.
I would have been there.
Yeah, it was a really, really good run. We had a lot of fun. And that was to me one of my favorite tours, just because the band, the guys in Atheist now are so fucking. I have this really young, amazing band, and they play this music so perfectly, and probably more so than we played it back in the day. Oh, wow. And they're just really great musicians, and I can't say enough about them. And so to stand on stage and hear those songs played correctly, like that, was pretty powerful, and it was a lot of fun, and it really kind of filled my gas tank about touring, just because they're just young and fiery and nailing all the notes, and the bass player is incredible and drummer's incredible. And, it's really hard to find, we had early, in 06, we had an early incarnation of that band, of, bringing the band back with Chris Baker and Sonny Carson. And, while they were great guitar players, they were just, they weren't note for note guys, and Atheist is sort of note for note music. Yeah. Like, I like to hear it note for note anyway. I don't like to hear the solos improvised. I want to hear them. I love Rand's solos. His solos on the records are amazing, and I love to hear them played as close as possible. And same with the bass lines and the drums. So, in '93, we did a tour with a guy playing drums named Marcel Dos Santos. Oh, yeah. And he did a decent job, but he wasn't playing Steve Flynn's parts the way that they were. And so anyway, this most recent tour was a lot of fun for me, because it just felt like it was like the record was playing behind me, and it caused me to perform better as well. So it was a lot of fun.
With the upcoming tour, I realize it's Atheist. Do you have any intention of playing any Till the Dirt songs on that tour?
Well, it is the very same guys in the band,
That's why I was curious.
So, yeah, it's all the same guys. I don't think so. I don't know.
Sound.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. I think that people would be angry about that. One of the reasons why is because I'm using some different sides of my vocals And, you know, one of the nicest things about this Till the Dirt record is that I was able to, you know, I've always been able to sing, you know, but I don't, you know, I'm not singing like Linkin Park shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a more grovelly, you know, sort of whiskey coated, clean voice, you know what I mean? And it's not your typical fare. So I could, but I would never do that to Atheist, you know, or Atheist fans, you know, I would never try to slip that in. You know, many people have said, like, how come you don't sing on an Atheist record? I'm just like, because you don't, you know, you're not supposed to. I just, that's how I feel about it. I just don't, I don't feel like it would be suitable. I like to keep Atheist the way it is. And, but so it's nice to be able to explore that with Till the Dirt, but we'll probably skip that. Now, 5 years from now, if Till the Dirt takes off and is doing really well, it might be kind of cool to throw in one at the end, or vice versa, play a Till the Dirt show and play an Atheist song.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Well, I was going to ask too, if do you have any intention or any plans to do any shows, any Till the Dirt shows?
I think that would probably, well, I mean, I hope that we hope everything takes off once we get a deal in place, and then we definitely want to get out on the road and play these songs. I think these songs live are going to be huge, and so yeah, I you know, I mean, I like I tell my manager, I got about 12 to 15 good years left, then I'm out of here. So let's get it fucking rolling. You know, I need to get out on the road. And this COVID shit stole 2 years from me. Yeah. You know, and you know, I mean, I've been smoking 35 fucking years, so you know, I maybe only got 10 years left. So when you start thinking about life like that, you know, with that kind of urgency, you plan things differently. You know, so many people are like, oh, I'll get to it, or no rush. Yeah, there's a fucking rush. I gotta go. You know, so so I'm hoping this COVID thing goes away, and we can get back out and play, and I can ride off into the sunset on stage, you know, and doing what I love.
So Jupiter came out in 2010. So it's been, you know, 11 years. Do you have any intention of releasing any new Atheist material?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We yeah, I've got 3.5 hours of Atheist riffs written, all recorded and ready to go. And I know the new guy's got a ton of great ideas as well, and Steve Flynn does as well, because Steve Flynn will be playing on the record. Nice. So it'll be me and Steve, and it's just it's an entirely different process. So we got to get in the same room together, and so we got caught in a small contractual fucking snag that I can't really go into at great length, but it's the reason why it's taken 3 years, the last 3 years. Like 3 years ago, I said we were going to have a new record, and we did sign a deal. And that deal ended up, you know, that label didn't come through with the deal like they were supposed to. And so they breached contract, and we've just spent the last 3 years trying to sort that out. So, yeah, it's been kind of a drag because we're ready to go, you know, ready to get in. Once we get in the room together, it'll only be about three or 4 months tops where we'll have it all put together. But, you know, I mean, it's got to be done or really organically in a room, because that's just the way Steve Flynn is. He just writes, and that's the way we've always written Atheist records. So I don't want to change that. But personally, you know, this time I'll be showing up with 3.5 hours of riffs, literally 3.5 hours, all nicely recorded. So instead of me trying to remember shit, I'll just be able to, like, you know, just flip through my my CDs of riffs, and that's gonna be a lot of fun because I've got these really great musicians in the band, and so I can be like, play this, and play it weirder, and then play it in this weird, you know, it's like painting. You know, for me, I've always said that I'm the least talented mechanically of any of the guys I've ever played in a band with. Like when it comes to actual guitar playing, when it comes to actual everything, I'm not as virtuous, you know, I'm just not that guy. Those guys are all better, but my mind, I'm sort of the seamstress, you know, so, or I don't know what a male guy who sews, I don't know if you call him a seamstress, but that's my thing, you know, is writing songs. Songwriting is something that I've really, really gotten, you know, much better at over the years. And so being able to use these guys like paintbrushes and colors, you know, they offer endless possibilities. So anything that I can think of, along with Steve Flynn, these guys will be able to play. And you know, and it's not about, you know, today's technical metal is just, it's just about chaos and not songwriting. And it's like, to me, you know, if you take a band like Yes, or even Duran Duran. Duran Duran's a great example, because while the average person will listen to Duran Duran and wrinkle their nose and anybody, those guys, you know, it didn't seem like, it seemed very poppy and very plastic, but those guys were great fucking songwriters and actually really good musicians. Yeah. You know, when you really listen to what they're playing, but it's just done in such a floaty way, so to speak, you know, as compared to metal. But I think that, you know, having guys that can literally, because a lot of things that I write too, I will mouth out. So I'll be like, you know, and if a guitar player can go, you know, if he can follow what I'm doing mouthwise, then you know, you know, then I have endless possibilities. Because if I can't quite get it on guitar, if I can't quite show them, I can be like, it's like this, but with a on the end of it. And they're like, oh, you know, and those guys are just so good. And so it's fucking a blast for me to, you know, to salute those guys and their talent. And they're super humble, just a great bunch of guys. So yeah, couldn't be more excited about the future.
Nice. Yeah, I'm very excited about the future of Atheist and Until the Dirt. That's exciting news.
Thanks, man.
Speaking of vocals, I wanted to ask you this because I heard a rumor once, and I was curious if this is true, and it's really interesting if it is, and it would have been really interesting if this had happened. I heard that I don't know if you tried out or you were interested in singing for Velvet Revolver before Scott Weiland joined up. Is that true? Did that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah, it was very true. Actually, I went out to LA and wrote 3 songs with those guys before they became Velvet Revolver, when it was still called The Project. And initially, when my other band Neurotica, we signed a big deal with the WWE and Vince McMahon, and they started a record label, and we had a real good run with that band. Went out and did Ozfest in 2002, and that was a different world for me. And you know, that dealt with rock radio and all that. It was completely above ground as opposed to underground. And when that band broke up, I came home and I was just like, I didn't really know what to do, you know, and I was flipping through Blabbermouth, and I saw that Slash had posted this thing that said, you know, that there were no real rock singers around anymore. And so I was just kind of like, fuck. So I called my manager and I was like, maybe we could send him the Neurotica record. And my manager just kind of laughed at me and chuckled. And he was like, dude, he's in LA. He's going to have, you know, he's going to have an A-list of guys that are going to get that gig. And I was like, well, he's the one fucking who came out and said there are no real rock singers. I'm a fucking real rock singer, man. And so I got frustrated with my manager, and I remembered that my publicist for Neurotica, her name is Lulu. And if you're watching this, Lulu, thank you. I couldn't even get the sentence out of my mouth before she was like, Kelly, oh my God, we got to send it to him. She used to be his publicist. So she still had his address and everything. So she sent that Neurotica CD out there, and 3 days later, I got a fucking call from Slash, man. And I was like, holy shit. And so, you know, I'm a death metal kid, you know, at heart, you know, and so I was just like, and it was just cool, man. You know, it was like, hey, Kelly, this is Slash. And I said, hey, Slash, how's it going? He's like, yeah, you know, we sat and listened to this Neurotica record, me and Duff, and we listened to the whole record. And he's like, and I have to put it into context for you that, you know, we've listened to 600 demos. And so rarely would we sit through the entire thing. Wow. And he's like, what happened to this band? I said, oh, we just broke up, man. And, you know, we had a pretty good run, yada, yada. And he's like, okay, well, you know, we wrote like 36 songs. I'm going to send you 3 songs. Just write your lyrics and go in the studio, record it, send it back. And I said, cool. And so I did. And a couple of days later, I got a group call from those guys, and they were like, come to LA. And so off I went to LA, and next thing you know, it was fucking Guns and Kelly in a fucking room, man. I was like, holy shit. My death metal friends would never in a million years believe that I'm sitting here fucking doing this shit. And that was just cool, man. I mean, it's fucking Duff McKagan, it's fucking Matt Sorum, it's fucking Slash. And so we go into Mate's rehearsal out in LA, and you know, and I'm standing outside smoking a cigarette, and a Jaguar pulls up, and out comes the cartoon character that is Slash. And it was just, for me, it was just super surreal. I'm not a fanboy or anything, but it was just kind of, that was a rad moment, you know, of like, I had to kind of fanboy it out a little bit. I was just like, I tried to keep it in. Well, I did keep it inside, you know, but inside I was like, holy fuck, this is so outside of my comfort zone. But we went in and we jammed, and it went really well. And, you know, I tell all my friends, my favorite part of the whole thing was, you know, there's there's guitar players in eras like Keith Richards and Jeff Beck, and there's like these iconic guitar players. Well, Slash is kind of that. You can look at a silhouette of Slash and know that's fucking Slash, just like you can look at a silhouette of Michael Jordan and know it's Michael Jordan. Right. So he's so iconic. So we're in this maybe 30 by 30 rehearsal room, and we're playing, and the solo comes, and he turns to me and soloed at me.
Cool.
Which I don't know if people can get that if you don't understand. He fucking soloed at me, man. I mean, it's like there's not a whole lot of people that he has soloed at. Michael Jackson, Axl Rose, Scott Weiland. But when a guy like that, it's just a moment. In my final moments as I lay in bed about to die, I'm gonna think about that just because it was fucking cool, man, and especially a song that we wrote together. So yeah, that's a very true. And I left LA with that gig. I mean, they had gone through a ton of singers, and it felt really good. Slash was like, look, man, no matter what happens, you're a really fucking great singer. And that to me was the first time I ever felt like an actual singer. If that makes any sense. Just because he's the Joe Perry of my day. He's just that guy. So and he played with a lot of great singers and yada yada. But so it was pretty cool, man. So like I said, we recorded 3 songs, and then I came back, and it was about 4 weeks later. I guess Duff McKagan's wife and Scott Weiland's wife were really good friends, and so word came through their inside grapevine that he was going to be leaving STP, and so I lost the gig to a guy that sold 4 million records. I don't, that's quite all right. Yeah. I don't, I think that if I had been, it was cool because there was like a Rolling Stone ran an article, and it had like, Travis Meeks from Days of the New, I think was one of the final 4. It was Sebastian, myself, and Scott Weiland. And I don't blame them, man. I would have chose Scott Weiland too. But it's just kind of ironic because Slash didn't really like that kind of. He definitely didn't like the her. He didn't like that Seattle-ist, that Seattle kind of sound at all. So when I heard that he was going to be in the band, I probably thought that had a lot more to do with the rest of the band and management. Yeah. And the overall, view of the project. Here's some virtually unknown guy in Florida, or Scott Weiland, you know what I mean? So it made perfect sense to put that super group together. But it was, it was a cool opportunity, and it's the best audition that I never got. I mean, I got, because Slash had put up on his website that I got the gig. Oh, wow. And so there was a 2-week period where people were like, "What? The dude from Atheist?" But I was like, shh, I was like, I didn't want them to know anything about that, because I thought for sure that somebody's wife is going to be a Christian, and out I'll go, Yeah. We could have some fucking devil guy in the bed. So, that's just how people are, and then so, but, I was happy when Slash's book came out. I actually got a small mention in his book. So for people that think I'm full of shit, I can point it out. And he basically just said, yeah, we've gone through all these singers, and then we met this guy from Florida named Kelly, and while it was a great step in the right direction, he didn't end up being the singer. So it got very minimized to the way it really actually happened. But just cool to like get in a car and go to a burrito spot with Guns N' Roses and have burritos and sit at a little fucking place in LA. I'm just looking around like, nobody gives a fuck. Yeah. I'm sitting here with like fucking these iconic dudes, and I can't believe that nobody's come over and said anything. Now in my town, Brian Johnson, who I was fortunate enough to be able to work with Neurotica, he produced the first album that we did. Oh, I didn't know. You didn't know that? Oh yeah. Me and Brian discovered Neurotica in a small little club with like 70 people, and ended up producing the first album called Seed. And so we've been friends for a long time. We did a song together. And so but he can't go anywhere. Like, oh, I bet. Yeah. Can't fucking go anywhere without people just handing him their phone, here, talk to my grandma, talk to my dad. And so I was shocked that nobody was up their ass. But it's LA, so they're used to seeing all those kinds of people. So that's got to be surreal. So yes, that is a true fact. That one that probably not a lot of people in death metal probably know or care about. I don't know. They may see that as it would have been cool though. I think it would have been pretty interesting. You know?
Yeah, I would love to hear those demos. I bet that would be
I'll
fascinating.
dig them up, man. I'll see if I can. I know I've got at least 2 of the songs.
Oh,
But
really?
it ended up sounding my voice. You know, I've got kind of a not an unlike Axl kind of annoying kind of quality to my voice, like for lack of a better words. It's not that he has a. Yeah, I think anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's a. You know, neither Axl or myself are virtual. We're not Ronnie James Dio. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have that kind of beauty in our voice. You know, it's very raspy and rough. And so what I did sounded like a really modern Guns N' Roses. Like, you know, it sounded more like shit off of Appetite than anything, with a little more huskiness to it, you know, but a little more grovel. But so that's what the songs ended up sounding like to me. But it was fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting.
Great experience.
That would have been really interesting. If
Very nice guys too. Very, very, very cool people, man. You know, Duff came and picked me up from the hotel one day. He's like, I gotta get my car washed. Next thing you know, I'm sitting at a fucking car wash with Duff McKagan, just thinking, you know, no big deal. Just fucking sitting in LA at a car wash. He's sitting there with his little piece of wood in his hand, you know, like, you know, waiting for them to call his name. And but you know, Dave Kushner, one of the guys that was playing in the band at the time, he went on to he's a really nice guy too. He went on to write the theme song for Sons of Anarchy.
Oh wow, I did not know.
So I was happy for him, you know, because I'm sure he made a shit ton of money on that, and he deserved it because he was a very humble guy.
Nice, that's cool.
But, yeah.
Switch gears a little bit. You're a super busy guy, I know. I mean, you've got bands, you've got lots of stuff going on. You also do a podcast, the Jack, I believe it's called, right, with Jurgen.
Yeah.
You and Jurgen.
Yeah. And we're hoping to get that relaunched again. It's just stifled out when COVID happened, you know. So, but that was a lot of fun. I really enjoy that a lot. I enjoy doing voiceover work. I enjoy narration and stuff like that. And I would love to get into that world. It's just so difficult to get into that, you know, cartoon characters and stuff like that. I would love to do shit like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But yeah, it would be fun, you know. But you know, 35 years of smoking and screaming, and I got a decent projection to my voice.
Yeah.
But man.
And then you also own a bar, Kelly's Live, correct?
Again, pre-COVID, yes.
Okay.
Post-COVID, no.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But no, yeah. I mean, listen, yeah, it changed all of our lives, man.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if I'll have time to do a bar in the next couple of years because of touring and everything, but I definitely enjoyed the shit out of that. I love bringing bands to town and promoting shows, and I just like, you know, I just love music and you know, I pretty much do the same thing that I did when I was 18, 19 years old. You know, I still have the same love, and you know, my wife is substantially younger than me, so she still has you know, that same youthful spirit. So there's no need for me to ever get old. You know, I got a 4-year-old son and a young wife, and so you know, I don't have to get old. I just have to, you know, chronologically I do, I guess, but I'm still the same cat I was then, you know.
Yeah, and the 4-year-old will definitely keep you young. That's
fucking A. Yeah, he's a piece of work, man.
Nice. I love it. Well, I don't want to keep you all day, but I got one last question for you. So, you know, my page is Brews and Tunes. So I pair craft beer with heavy metal and hard rock.
Cool. Nice.
So, you know, it's a Saturday night. Kelly's hanging out at home. What beer or drink or whatever are you gonna crack open or mix? And what album are you throwing on?
Well, I don't know. I will be working on new music, and I will be having Jaeger bombs.
Nice.
And I don't drink beer, man, that much. You know, I mean, I did. Now, if I had craft beer at home, I would probably drink that. I like stronger. I like to drink beer when I'm in Europe because the beer is fucking amazing. But as they say about beer in America, it's like fucking in a canoe, very close to water.
Right.
So I don't drink much American beer, man. So it's just pretty much Jaeger and Red Bull for me.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fall in line with the brews and tunes, but
totally cool. Totally cool.
But that's a cool concept, man. You know.
Yeah.
What are you drinking tonight? For all your brew fans out there.
Right now I'm drinking a Salem New England IPA.
Helltown.
Helltown Brewing Company I believe they're out of Pittsburgh or just outside of Pittsburgh. A friend of mine brought that to me, so
Well, I will tell you this, that we Atheists, we had our own IPA.
Oh,
And I'll send you a picture of the bottle. It's fucking cool. You'll appreciate the label because it was done here at a brewing company called Big Top Brewers in Sarasota, Florida. And we did probably, I don't know, 300 cases.
nice.
And I sold it at my bar, and it was really strong. And the cover was really cool. It looked like Piece of Time. And it said, I'm trying to think of the slogan, what it was, beer for oh no, it didn't say beer for, it said for non-beer leavers. So it said, atheist ale for non-beer leavers.
I love it.
It was fucking cool, man. And so big pints, like in Europe, big bottles. And yeah, we were selling the shit out of that, and people were really digging it. It was I worked with a guy on the sort of the formula of it. And it was fun. I'd like to do that again, but I wanted to take some on the road, but it's really hard to take American beer and ship it over to Europe, I guess. So it's an issue. So I'll have to find somebody to make it over in Europe, and so that we can sell it on the road, because it was super strong and highly effective.
I would love to try that.
I'll send you a picture of it. As a matter of fact, I've got like a whole case of empty bottles. I don't know if you're a collector or not, but I could send you one of the bottles.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Really cool. Make a candle out of it or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That's great. Very cool. Well, Kelly, this has been a great pleasure speaking with you. I'm really excited for the new music coming out. Cannot wait to hear the album once it's finished up. The music I've heard, the samples, not samples, but the songs you sent me are phenomenal.
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be really excited when they hear this stuff once it's out there. And then, if you're in Europe, Atheist will be on the road next year, early next year. So
yeah, and hit us up on the socials, at Till the Dirt Band on Instagram, Facebook /Till the Dirt, and then official Atheist Band. We're on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And hit us up, and we can't wait to get back out there and see you. And please support Brews and Tunes. My man, Victor.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Hey, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll see you soon. Talk to you.